Good morning, everyone. Hungry Black Man here.
Jill Tracey here. Good morning,
So,
world.
uh, so yesterday we had a really great conversation. Good show. It's so funny, Jill, how our views always correlate to the meatiness of the show. So I think that yesterday's show was really good, and folks had a lot of conversation about it. We had like about 600 comments on one thread, and quite a few views yesterday. So that's a good thing.
Awesome.
Um, Today we're going to have two special guests. Jill can talk about the first, and I'll talk about the second.
Well, you're the first. You got the first guess.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Ross Joseph is going to come on. Good morning, everyone. She is the woman who was accosted by uh, the Karen that was in the building. That our Karen report was a Tim report yesterday, and so she's going to come on and discuss some updates on what happened with that, and we're going to just show people a little clip of it before she comes on, just to let you guys know what we're talking about. So we're going to have her on at 9:30, which is in about 8 minutes.
Awesome. And then following her up at 10 o'clock. For those of you in South Florida, you know that Melba Pearson is. I hope you know that Melba Pearson is running for state attorney against Kathy Fernandez Rundle. If she is to win, she will be the first African American human to hold that position. Kathy Fernandez Rundle has been the state attorney for South Florida for almost over 27 years now. And there has not been one arrest under her watch of a police officer accused of shooting, killing African Americans. I don't know her stats on Hispanics and other. Um, but however, here at Fresh Squeeze, we are very concerned about the fact that her record is so flawed as it comes to the African American community. And those of you, Starix, do you forgive me for not sending that to you? But you know the story about the brother who was his skin, they boiled him to death in jail.
Of course, I'm familiar with that.
Right. Okay. So that was sort of the tip of the iceberg. If you I have it, I'll find it if it's not readily available.
Yeah, I got you. I
You
already
got
got
it?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um and these officers no one was ever charged in this man's case. And he was clearly they left him in a shower with water temperatures over, I think it was 60, no, I think it must have been 100 degrees or something. It's in the story. And literally his skin boiled off. And yeah, no one was charged. So, Melba Pearson will be here to kind of tell you her background. And in addition, we will be with her will be a young lady whose champion she's causing, whose cause she's championing is Jesus. Um, her husband was killed down south, and it's just another one of those egregious stories that we'll share at 10 o'clock. So yeah, that's our guest on deck for today.
All right.
And are you starting with a can? Are we doing a Karen?
Yep. Of course. So this Karen report is I don't know where they are. They are actually attacking two Afro Latino veterans in a grocery in a restaurant. I It's just so sad, man. That like these people, man. So here we go. Here's our Karen report for today.
Good morning, everybody. Olive, Danielle, lovely. Hey, y'all.
This is our military. Don't you take a picture of me. You do not have the right to take a picture of me.
These people are their rights.
Ma'am, put that phone down.
Now she want to cry.
Right.
Did I hear a black guy telling somebody they don't need to be recording?
They put her in handcuffs. Oh, good. Is she in handcuffs? Good.
Georgia.
Zoom out on your phone. Zoom out on your phone.
Well,
It's just.
oh yeah, it's if it's old Mackenzie, it doesn't matter. It's new to us. It's new to us. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys this was a Karen report turned into a Kim report, and I'm gonna show you guys that before we bring on our guest, so you can know the context of what we're talking about. This happened on yesterday or a day ago. And I'm going to just play the beginning of it. This was a woman right here in Boynton Beach who was riding her bike, and this is what happened.
You don't tell me what to do. I can say I live here. Call 911. Go ahead.
Would you like me to call Palm Beach County Sheriff and they'll tell you to leave the community?
I would love for you to call the sheriff's department.
This is a gated community.
I understand it's
Yes,
gated.
there's someone here in the community. That's what I'm asking.
You don't have any right. I don't have to answer any questions that you ask me. I would love for you to call the sheriffs.
Yeah.
Call them.
This is
I'll be riding around. I'm not leaving.
This is a private community.
That's fine. Go ahead. Call the sheriff's department. You have no right to ask me any questions, and I don't have to answer any questions to you. I haven't spoken to you.
You don't have the right to be riding around in a private community where you're not the guest of someone or you don't live here.
Guess what? Does that matter to you? I didn't speak to you. I didn't do anything to you.
That's fine.
Okay,
You
great.
don't need to.
That's great. So how about you go police somewhere else because you got the wrong one and I got time today. So you can waste your time and the police
That's
time.
fine because you're riding around a bike in a community you don't live in.
I told you I don't live in here just because I said no. What if I was lying? That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
I was lying to you.
Go ride straight up.
Why don't you go ride in the street? Go jump in front of the cars for all I care. As a matter of fact, you're messing up my heart rate. You're messing up my heart rate.
I love that. You are. That is a black woman for you. You are messing up my heart rate. I mean, you just.
Back up one. Back up one.
No,
you back up one.
I
Go ahead.
told you don't live here in the.
Get that footman in.
That's it.
So you know what's
Excuse
interesting?
me, I told you you don't live here. Like,
You know what's really interesting, Jill? The fact that there are so many white men who approach and accost black women, and you never see black men accosting and approaching white women like that. Like
that.
You could never, and that's the thing that just like, let's just do a gender race reversal right now and put a black man like the bird watcher, like the black bird watcher who now turned into a Sambo and decided to not even, I mean, these white women, they treat so delicate that he doesn't even want to cooperate with police to set an example of this racist ass woman. You know, so you got these, and even in the video we just saw, the white man was bucking up at the black women. Right. And it takes black men to stand up for black women in those situations. And many times these white men are doing this when these black women are alone. So it's a bigger issue than just a race issue. And I think white women should be concerned at the fact that you have these white men who are operating in an aggressive, very threatening manner, and they're approaching black women. These are women at the end of the day. And it's sad that a black woman has to turn into a warrior to defend herself against these white men who are doing these very disrespectful, very chauvinistic, misogynistic, racist behaviors. You know, it's a big problem for me. And I think that until we start to have that conversation in that tone, then they're going to keep doing that. Our women need to be like, there needs to be legislation passed that talks about this, you know, because it is a problem.
You know, it's interesting. Well, you know, I when you were talking, I thought, you know, walk a day in my shoes. Be a black woman and like have somebody like have a black woman film like have on a hidden camera and like film her entire day, and you will see how many just transgressions happen to us like all day every day that we have learned to tune out, like your child screaming and you trying to watch TV. You know what I'm saying? It's just um and that's why that statistic is real about the average black woman has the stress level of a white woman in a mental institution on a daily basis.
Yeah,
because there's so much that we are dealing with, and particularly I did a show once with a female on the force. I have another one coming up, and it just, when I tell you, Jesus, the things that these women have taken on, just the idea of putting on that uniform and leaving the house, just puts a flashing red light on the top of your head. And their stories were just incredible of, their fortitude and how they were able to, how they're able to be out in them streets as a woman in uniform. And it is not an easy situation.
there we go.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
You have some time for us today.
I have a few minutes.
Oh my God, girl, that was the best. You got the right one today because I have time today. I am using that one. So welcome to Fresh Squeeze. How are you?
Good. And yourself?
I'm blessed. I'm glad that you are here with us. And so of course I'm dying to know the outcome of that altercation.
Well, nothing has happened yet. I did email our property management company and the HOA board. Our board president happened to be walking at the time of everything going on, and he saw the officers, so he came over to find out what was going on. So I explained to him what had happened, and I know that he was going to address it with the board. No one's contacted me yet, though.
Can you give us what, like a play-by-play of what actually happened before you started recording?
Yeah, so I've been riding my bike. What I do is I lap the entire neighborhood and the lake to get to my mile a few times. And I noticed that he'd been back and forth and kind of seemed right on top of me, but I just thought he was a fast walker. I've seen him in our neighborhood before. And then he waited until I was coming around the lake, and it's a spot where you're not in front of any of the other homes or on the street. You're kind of on the outside. And he waved me down, and people usually wave me down to say hi or say something. And then he asked me what I was doing here and if I lived here. And I was like, why? Who are you? Do I have to answer that question? And then the reason I even started recording is because he approached me. So when you look at the camera, he was much closer when
That's what I was talking about.
And then I was like, I don't know if he has a gun or anything, because I know how things have escalated recently with stuff. So I immediately dropped my bike and I just pulled my phone out. I was actually trying to go on live because I was like, I don't know what he's gonna do. And then once he saw me pulling my phone out and recording, then he like jumped back. So it's frustrating because he was the one who was aggressive, but that's how I'm being described. But the situation is, you approached a woman on her own, and then you're walking towards me aggressively, but because I start videotaping and I'm being loud on purpose so that people can hear, because there were some of my neighbors who were out on their patios, I'm going to be labeled as aggressive or confrontational when I didn't have to respond to him. And the reason that I'm a little frustrated too, because I know a lot of people, I'm trying to stay off of social media. Why didn't you walk away? Why? I have no idea who this person is. I don't want to give him any ammunition. The sheriff's office locally is who responds to us since we live in an unincorporated area. I don't want it to seem like I'm running away from anybody to give anyone justification to do anything. I don't know what his training is. I don't know what he has on him. So I was just, yeah. And everyone saw what happened on the video because I recorded pretty much the entire thing. And even after that, I biked off once I saw he was further down the path and on the phone. As I left the lake area and came on the main street, he comes back, and then he's still trying to follow up with my neighbor to validate if I live here or not. And we have cameras at the front entrance. So, I mean, worst case scenario, I was somebody who was here. Mind you, I have blue hair on my locks. I had a bright blue shirt on, a bright turquoise and lime green bike.
Right. Right.
It's
Can't
all
be
recorded, you know?
But you know, the thing that I was sharing with Starks, I've shared with our audience a report that just kind of like changed my life from the Black Women's Health Initiative in DC. That in a study, I think it was probably 6 years ago now, but I'll pull it up for you guys because somebody else asked for it. That on the stress levels of Black women, and the study reported that the average Black woman has the stress level of a white woman in a mental institution on a daily basis. And many of us, when I did it on the show the first time, people were like, that is insane. However, we just don't realize how much stress that we carry because it's just baked into the cake of being a Black woman. That just like you said, like we have to be conscious of everything around us, everybody's motives around us, and then handle ourselves in a way that we are non-threatening, knowing that they are approaching us as a threat because of the melanin, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about this. Mm-hmm. And that was another one of those situations. Like you were damned if, depending on who is viewing and who's talking. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. The fact that you even exist and are in there, and I got an issue that you live in the same community that I do. That's the basis of what you're dealing with. And then where do you go from there?
But I'm not sure what the answer to that is, right? Because our community, yes, the majority of individuals who live here are white, but it is a very diverse community. You know, we have
very much like mine. I'm in a very similar community.
And we were purposeful on that. So we would not have these types of issues.
You're the only one, right?
Yes. Our kids at this point are the only little Black boys in the neighborhood, but there were other Black children. They were high school or, they're in college or coming back. There are other young kids of color in here that aren't Black, but I look at that and I'm like, so what's the right thing to do at this point, right? Because I made sure I wasn't in a community where we were completely the minority and people weren't used to seeing Black neighbors. And when I share this with some of my neighbors, some of who are retired military, they're very upset. We're all outside. We have young kids, so we are very active in our community. One of the things I've been focusing on is my health, and that's one of the reasons for biking. And I'm just very upset because there's no way I could have handled that where it didn't end with it being negative. It didn't end with the police officers coming and something potentially dangerous happening to me, because I don't want to end up a hashtag, right? And I also don't want it to be a situation. And I see what happens when we end up as hashtags, especially as a Black woman. Mm-hmm. That fear is something happens to me. Is there going to be justice there?
Yeah.
Documented.
Right. Even with you having it documented, because the idea that had Breonna Taylor been white, we would not be where we are right now. It's just not even a question. So the fact that the whole idea of how do I live my life in this neighborhood, first, without having to deal with that. Second, now I have to prove why I'm not the aggressor when you're before me looking in my eyes and I see it. Do you know what I'm saying? It is just it is that level of stress on a daily basis. Starks, I'm sorry, you wanted to say?
No, I know that when I had inboxed Roz, she was letting me know that she was, very tired and, processing all of that, and that she had to calm her husband down. And I think that guy's lucky that your husband wasn't nearby, because that type of anger I can only imagine how your husband felt. And that's why I literally was like, let me give you your space, because I can only imagine. And it's unfortunate because, I talked to Jill just now about the fact that we need to start looking at these as crimes against women. It's not so much, it's obviously race-based, but the fact that you're a woman and this guy is approaching you, and that was my point before I even heard the whole story. The fact that he's approaching you in a manner that is not acceptable in the way that you approach a woman is a big problem for me, because women are vulnerable, and you don't have the right to even come into your 6 feet first for social distancing, number one, and you're coming up on, I just have I think that this guy, I mean, he's going to be dealt with. I know that we have a lot of folks emailing his job. We got his phone number. They're flooding his email. So we're going to keep doing that. I just wanted to bring you on so that folks can know and see a face to the tragedy, right? Because people don't understand, like, this happened to you, but more importantly, this is not something that's over for you. This is something that can, this is something. So I wanted you to kind of talk about just, the human side of when these things happen. How did you feel, right? And how do you feel now? And I do think that if possible, there should be some legal action taken against him, because these types of things really do affect us emotionally, and it does not go away the next day.
What's frustrating to me, I think like yesterday, or that evening, we literally stayed outside walking, like just walking to burn off the anger. And then I posted the video, and immediately, like, the phone calls and things, and my family, my mother was in tears because she's like thinking something's going to happen. And my family's from Haiti, and she's worried, period, that, what if something happens to you? Because she knows of our schedules and things. And she's like, how's that going to work? My brothers are calling. Are you going to be okay there? Do we need to start coming? And people are just, reaching out. And I appreciate that love and support. And it was overwhelming. And I stayed up all night. I could not sleep because I started to think about, okay, what does this mean? Especially that I put it out on social media. And the reason I did that was because I was truly fearful in that moment. And I was trying to catalog, right? How do I process this? I'm active in my local community. I'm thinking about my job. I'm thinking about the boards I sit on and the things that I do, and the work that I do in the community. How will this all be perceived? And I'm like, no, I'm mad and I'm angry. And then from there, I went to overwhelmed and frustrated and anxious. And I've been stressed because I have to now think about my kids. Before, they couldn't go about right over there if I couldn't see them. No, you can stay in our driveway at this point. My 8-year-old's almost to my shoulder. My nieces were over a couple weeks ago. They're taller than me. I'm 5'2". They're taller than me. My nephews, they come over here all the time. They're over almost 6 feet tall. They're gangly teenagers, but they're 6 feet tall. So what does that mean? What if he had approached one of them? What if they didn't know? What if they could not be as calm and collected or think through the possible outcomes of the situation and not think anything of ignoring the guy and walking away? What could have happened to them? And that's what I expressed in a letter to my property management company and the HOA. Like, how would you feel if this happened to you or your family or your visitor? And now I have to continue to deal with this because some people view what I did as wrong, right? My attitude, my take of being angry and upset that some strange man is approaching me and asking me questions. And now the backlash is on me because I stood up for myself. I knew my rights and I was vocal about that. I was able to articulate and express myself. So that makes me the person who's in the wrong here. Instead of focusing on the person who had no right to approach a woman in a corner. And he was purposeful because it's not like he didn't see me and we cut paths across the sidewalk in front of people's neighborhoods. If he was so fearful that I was scoping garages, why not confront me in front of all of our neighbors? Because there were plenty of people out.
Did he say that?
Oh yeah, in the video, yes. He mentioned to the officers, I can't remember the exact wording when he was on the call, but basically that I was looking at garages for
no, that's what he said.
Like that, just like viscerally, just like my heart skipped a beat.
So you create and paint a picture to ensure this aggressive woman
picture, right?
And so when you have then the sheriff's office running in here, police officers running in here, and if I'm biking away from you, oh, look at that. She probably was trying to steal something. Like, you painted that picture on purpose, especially with the climate and the tone of what's going on in this country. So when people ask me, what if he apologizes? He can do whatever he needs to do to be good with his soul and his maker. But if that was my son or my niece or my nephew or anyone else's, it would have been a different situation, and it could have been, and we can see based off of historical precedents, we can see how deadly that could have gotten, how quickly it could have gotten, it would have gotten escalated. So no, your
Because
apology is not going to suffice.
right, and he is all in somebody else's business. It's like, why? And that, I don't know that we'll ever get a real answer to that. Like, what in you decided to follow me? And why do you feel like you need to ask or say anything to me? What is that? We know it's white supremacy, but it's like, how do we get them, to, especially now that we are living in spaces together, right? And under no circumstances, unless, he had harmed your children or was in front of you, would you ever have anything to say other than good morning to him?
Correct. I've seen him several times.
Right. And you said you were going to speak to him then. Yeah, I don't, we're just at such a time where there, as you're talking and people are entitlement, Yvonne said it's entitlement, and why do we have to comply with random white folks? There are a lot of comments over here to that effect. And having had that experience in your neighborhood, how do you feel about being now at home?
I don't know. I know that we've done what we need to do to make sure that our household and our home is protected and that we're able to protect our family.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question right now.
Yeah.
I can say that I'm frustrated. I'm still stressed.
I don't know. Has it changed your level of discomfort and security of where you live?
It has.
Yeah.
It has. And I don't think that anywhere else I would go now I can feel any different.
Wow.
So my
ensure that we were not, the one or the two Black families in the neighborhood. We purposely selected a neighborhood that we felt was really diverse. Our kids would have good experiences in. That we would be able to still be cautious, because I still think no matter where you go, I'm a Black woman, and my experiences growing up, I still need to be cautious in any circles that you go into. But I don't think, I really just don't think that there is anywhere that I would feel 100% safe.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, I mean, you all are homeowners, and I was renting with the idea to buy. But in the time spent, I think I've been in my community 7 years, and I'm just learning now that it was the beginning of the gentrification of this neighborhood. Because after I moved in, I would say 7 out of 12 of the neighbors in this area have moved and sold. It's not, it's not personally just me, but the idea of, wow, here they come. As pleasant as, they claim that, come over, have a cocktail, this, that, and the other. There has been a slow migration, and those that are coming in behind them are very similar to the man that you ran into.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, for us as, Black and brown people, like, where is this going? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think that's where we as a community need to really band together, and everything starts with the rules that are right, the systems that are in place. And I'm part of a couple of local organizations that I feel are doing this work, that have helped me meet other people that are doing amazing work in the community. I've reached out to them for some support, and how do we move forward? Because we can't stop at just sharing the video. It has to be, okay, now think about this. Could this happen to you in your neighborhood? What are the bylaws? Have you read your covenants and your HOA documents? What do your local commissioners say about this? Are they putting something in the works? There are several states that have that. I'm calling it the Karen Law. I think Ohio, New York, and I think it's on the table in California.
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we all should be working towards, because when people start to pay for the consequences, they have to answer for their actions. They have
Right.
to be accountable for it. I think that's what we need at this point. It can't be just sharing the video. It's got to be something that we begin changing and looking at the systems and where can we change laws and put things into place that protect us as well.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you so much for being you, you know, being that woman, you know, and not only, you know, did you hold yourself, but you were also able to deal with him without the hysteria of the moment.
Mhm.
And I think that that is one of the things that, in terms of, because we've been, you know, we have a Karen report every day, and many of them, we should call Karen and Keisha, because there are, you know, some that just go wrong where, sis, you could have hold yourself, because when they watch that video, just like you said, it'll be like, okay, well, look at her. She just is screaming and hollering at all over those people. And while I don't feel it's fair, especially when we're being attacked, we have a history of knowing that this is just wherever we go. It's unfortunate. It's horrible. You don't want to teach it to your children. But at the same time, you know, it is one of our superpowers. You know, that you were able to, you know, not let him take you out of who you were. So, you know, we pray for you and your family, and I hope you will keep us posted on what happens, because yeah, it's stories like, and you know, shouts out to StarX for following, being proactive to follow up, because it is stories like yours that, you know, open the gates that, you know, the rest of us can walk through and work at changing those kind of systems. You know, they're you know, a perfect world when your sons are marrying and building their homes, that they will live in communities like that, that are by us, for us, built by us as well.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you both for inviting me.
You get the bookcase of the day, girl, because I like trying to see everything. You know, now everybody's at home, so it's like I have this like a whole little like snapshots of people's bookcases, and I love yours.
Oh yeah, it's a whole wall.
Right?
Yep.
Love it.
I'm gonna build my home library.
Thank you, StarX.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and leave the studio. And thank you so much for bringing me out.
Thanks.
Thank you. Safe out there.
All right. You know, before we bring Melba in 5 minutes, Joe, I want to show you guys. We're going to come back to this. I don't know if you guys saw this. These black girls in the airport. Did you see that?
No, just the one that got punched by the cop.
No.
But that's what I mean. That's another one of those. Like, she really had no business getting up in that man's face. That just was on there. It's like, girl, what are you thinking? Why would you do? That under no circumstances did that excuse that man for putting his hands on that woman. None. But it was on that. You didn't have to go there. You just that's just not necessary.
This was like these women. They were from Philadelphia, super ratchet. And it's problematic because it's going to give the girl that was attacked by that, I don't know. But this was just problematic for me. So we'll talk about this briefly. And it's a mental health issue. Like
I need a link for our next guest.
Erupts inside a terminal inside Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International
Airport. What?
3 women now facing charges after police say they attacked airline employees. NBC6 reporter Amanda Placencia joins us live from the airport with what led to this attack.
God, what the hell?
Well, Jackie, what I know right now, women never boarded their flight to Philly last night. Instead, deputies say they were booked into jail instead after video showed them attacking airline employees.
What happened now?
Cell phone video captured the chaos when things got heated at a Spirit Airlines gate at Fort
Oh,
Lauderdale.
Spirit. Well, there you go.
We don't know what sparked the violence, but deputies say a group of women were upset after their flight to Philly was delayed Tuesday night. Then video shows a group attacking airline employees, hurling various items, and then rushing behind the counter. These are the 3 women arrested and charged with battery: 21-year-old Kara Ferguson, 20-year-old Tamaya Wright, and 22-year-old Denisha Dixon. All 3 are from Philadelphia and have since
I
gone.
can't. I'm not.
The Broward Sheriff's Office says these women punched and kicked the airline employees and hit them with phones, shoes, full water bottles, metal boarding signs, and even fast food. Spirit Airlines said they will not tolerate this abusive behavior. They gave us this statement about the incident, which read in part: 3 guests became combative following a delayed flight, and they were arrested for physically assaulting our team members. This violent behavior is completely unacceptable and has absolutely no place in airports or any other place.
Anywhere.
Spirit Airlines also said that 3 of their employees were shaken up, but thankfully they only had minor injuries.
They ass better be right back to work fucking around with Spirit.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that, and I'm gonna lend my full support to those young women because I flew Spirit once, and they deserve that.
You wrong. Listen, I call Spirit once. Pepsi can. I flew Spirit one time. I would never do that
Never
again.
do it again.
To Vegas. So it was the most horrifying experience. I will never. That is a flying Pepsi can. I cannot. But not that, I mean, but but the people at the gate have absolutely nothing to do with that. They are on the status quo. They're just towing the line, and that kind of that's my thing, right? Like, what do you think is going to happen to that other than you getting arrested and or going to jail? Like, under no circumstances are you going to be right for attacking. I can guarantee you they was late. And they got 10 minutes before boarding. And, it's like, fuck that, we here. You gonna let us on this goddamn plane? They were like, no, we're not. Bitch, yeah, ho, bitch asshole, you gonna let me on this goddamn plane? I can hear it like I was sitting there.
This was the reasoning. I'm sure it was like, okay, I guess I'm not getting home anyway, so I'm gonna be stuck here for a day. So I might as well beat this woman's ass. I mean,
is the logic we don't have no money for a hotel room, so fuck, we just sit in jail? I mean, what is the logic when you just behave like? I don't understand that behavior at all. I never have. I never will. I just don't know. Sorry. This is not funny. I know it's not funny, but what precipitates that kind of foolishness? It's crazy. We got to send them the link.
Who? Nova?
Yeah.
Tell her it's going to be in her messenger on Facebook.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Want to send the same link to Michelle Spence-Jones? Michelle Spence-Jones
is coming on?
Well, yeah, I don't know if she's going to talk, but she is Melba's surrogate.
Okay, I'll send it to Michelle as well. So Melba has hers.
Oh, now I see why you do that. That is so much easier, Starx, to do it from the Facebook Messenger.
Yeah. Turnkey. All right, Michelle. So they both have it. And while we're getting them on, I'm going to show you guys this case that we're going to be discussing, which is very graphic. This was a case of this gentleman who
Mackenzie said they throw shoes when they miss the bus too.
Okay, I'm gonna show you guys. Here we go. This is video of
okay, Darren, I'll be right back. I can't watch that.
This is video of Darren Rainey, the gentleman who died by being boiled to death in his cell, being led out and into, uh, unfortunately, his death. And then we're going to show you, now. All right, we're going to show you the photographs. All right. So just so you know, this was from March 17, 2017. The photographs and we're bringing Melba, who is running for state attorney, and this is one of the main things that propped her to run. The photographs of Darren Rainey's body are difficult to look at. Skin curly from nearly every part of his body, from the top of his nose to his ankles. Large swaths of exposed body tissue, some of it blood red and other portions straw yellow. Skin blistering on portions of his face, his ears, and his neck. Deep red tissue exposed on his chest, his back, a thigh, and an arm. Yellow tissue exposed on his buttocks and his leg. About the only portion of his body not affected are his feet. Paramedic Alexander Lopez saw the injuries firsthand that evening after Rainey collapsed and died in a shower in a mental health unit at Dade Correctional Institution on January 23, 2012. Patient was found with second and third degree burns on 30% of his body, Lopez wrote, adding that prison staff told him that the inmate was found on a shower floor with hot water running. The autopsy report, which inexplicably took 3 years. I hate this laptop. Sorry, guys. Excuse me. Took 3 years to be completed and another year to be released, was puzzling to Rainey's relatives, who said they were pressured by prison officials to immediately have him cremated. His death was an accident, Miami-Dade medical examiner Emma Liu concluded in 2015 December. He died from complications from schizophrenia, heart disease, and confinement to a shower. But it's so funny to me that when we die, that they say things like that when George Floyd died and George Floyd died, and they go, oh, well, your neck should have been strong enough so that you can withstand the pressure for 9 minutes. So you died because your neck wasn't strong enough. Like literally, Fernandez-Rundle issued a final report on the case on March 17th, announcing her decisions not to file charges. She conducted the investigation after the Miami Herald reported, the keyword after, the Miami Herald reported that the makeshift shower had been used by guards to torment prisoners who suffered from mental illness. Unlike other showers in the prison, it was rigged so that temperature controls were in an adjacent room inaccessible to inmates locked inside. Inmates in the unit told the Herald and later detectives that Rainey had been placed in the shower by Officer Roland Clark after Rainey defecated on himself, and the other officer stood by as Rainey screamed and begged for help while banging on the shower door. He was found face up in a pool of water more than 90 minutes later. Inmates and staff describe how after Rainey was carried out of the shower, he was so red he looked like he had been boiled, and that his skin was peeling off like fruit roll-ups. Since Fernandez-Rundle announced there would be no charges, the Herald has obtained thousands of pages of reports, emails, testimony, and photographs from the state attorney's office, the Miami-Dade medical examiner's office, and the Miami-Dade Police Department, which was the lead investigative agency. And so these are the prison guards responding to his collapsed body. And I'm going to show you guys, which is very graphic, the pictures. And I'm not going to read the whole story because we have Melba here, who is well versed on exactly what went down and why she's running for office with things like this. So this is the gentleman. Okay. And sorry, guys, this is graphic. So if people have their kids watching, you probably wouldn't want this to be shown to your kids. This is the skin. Oh my God. This is his arm. This is his body. Oh, Jesus. This is his back. This man suffered. Hey, Melba. Hey,
Hey,
Jill.
Starks. Hey,
It's
Jill.
it's over, Jill. Jill couldn't watch that.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Hard to see.
I walked so far away, I didn't even want to hear the video had audio. I'm back. Melba.
No, you're okay, Jill. You're
Hey,
okay.
baby. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. Where did Stars go?
He
Is he here?
vanished.
Sorry.
Starks, come back.
Welcome, Sunshine. Listen, we are doing well on the bookcases today. Yes. We just had an interview with a sister who also had an amazing bookcase. So, good morning, Ms. Melba Pearson. How are you, Sunshine?
I am doing well. Good morning, Starks and Jill. Thank you for having me on this morning, and I'm excited for our discussion.
Listen, so we have get our listeners. You can't see the comments, but there's several here. Many friends of Melba and the campaign are here as well. But we do have a lot of people from out of the state. So I'd like for them to know, a little of your background and why your race for a state attorney is so monumental for South Florida.
Y'all, this is huge, right? This is huge. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in New York, came down to Miami in 1997, and I was a prosecutor here in Miami-Dade County for close to 16 years. And I handled everything from misdemeanors all the way to double homicides. I was very much involved in the courtroom, tried a ton of cases, argued hundreds of motions, can't even count, and was very active in the community, making sure that we're able to make the state attorney's office.
No, she froze.
She froze.
The career criminal robbery unit. Yeah, where I handle some of the toughest cases. And then I was also president of the National Black Prosecutors Association for 2 terms. And then lastly, I was deputy director of the ACLU of Florida, where I worked on voting rights. So, really, really involved in all of these issues. This race is critical because as we are looking at the protests, and we're protesting around George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many others whose names we know and don't know, we have to take the next step. The next step is voting for elected prosecutors who mirror our values, who believe in criminal justice reform, and who believe in holding bad law enforcement actors accountable. And if we get that kind of strength and that kind of leadership here in Miami-Dade County, which is the 4th largest prosecutor's office in the country, we're really going to be in a position to get the change that we want to see on a national level.
Yeah, Starks, did you have a?
No, I just I just wanted to know, I just wanted Melba to talk about aside from getting justice for let me ask you this. If you were to win this seat, would you be able to reopen that case that we just saw?
Mm.
Yes, I would be able to. And I'm committing right now to doing so. I'm going to take another look at that case and see if we're able to bring charges. And the only reason why I say if is because of the fact that this happened 8 years ago. So witnesses move away, people pass away, evidence may have been destroyed because of the fact that, this case is closed, everything's done. So certain aspects of the case may not have been preserved. So I will go back and see what's available, see who's available. And if we have enough to move forward with charges, then I absolutely will do that, because there's no statute of limitations on murder and law.
Yeah.
Other charges, yes. So if I can't prove any one of the murder or manslaughter type charges, then this case is going to be done, unfortunately.
Jill, why do you think Melba is not being endorsed and supported by a consolidated Black Miami leadership?
Well, that is my tea kettle started whistling in that one. That is a good. I'm gonna turn the tea kettle off. Melba, I'm gonna let you answer. Turn that off, and then I'm going to answer. Let me just turn. You can hear it all the way in here.
I love it.
My tea kettle is pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely disappointing, but at the end of the day, I believe that I have the support of the people. Sometimes the leaders are afraid to speak out. I mean, honestly, a lot of people act like my opponent is John Gotti. Like their bodies are gonna just like, float up in the Miami River or something. And it's really not that serious, right? But I think a lot of people are concerned about their perceived access to power, or they're afraid that there might be some sort of backlash, or that she's going to take vindictive actions against them. And, that to me is just so telling. If so many people are afraid of your elected official, the person you put in office, to the point that you're afraid to criticize or speak out against them, I mean, that puts us on par with like third world countries that we criticize. Right? We shouldn't be afraid of our elected officials. We should be holding them accountable and making sure that they're acting in a manner that's aligned with our values. So, I don't know the deeper reason why, but I know that I've been in this community for 20 years doing this work, and people see me, people know me, and people know what they're getting when they elect me as state attorney. So, again, at the end of the day, it's about connecting with the people, because if the leaders aren't, going to share the message, then we have to make sure that we're getting to the people, because it's the people who vote, right? At the end of the day. And it's the people that I want to be accountable to.
Right. And I think that, to answer your question, Starx, I think that the blanket of misery that can be comforting. Let that sit there for a minute. Because there's no other reason that you would continue to vote against your interest, except for at some point you feel like the candidate has done something, brought chicken to the cookout, showed up at your auntie's funeral. And those things resonate when you go in the box. And not to disparage anybody, because we have all done it, gone into the ballot box and voted for names that sounded familiar, Black or Jewish. And a lot of times we won't share that. And to go back to my first point, we were talking to our first guest. A lot of times we don't want to admit what we don't know, so we don't share and we don't have these conversations. Many of us in this group, right? When I tell you, Melba, this is a fiery group. We have like brought our tribe together. Yes. And I have no fear in saying I do not know. I don't even know. Didn't really even know what the state attorney's job really was. So you have to we're just in a point, I think, that we had looked to Black leaders to come out, because they have, up until, I would say, honestly, about maybe 80. They would come out, do the cookout, come to the Black radio stations and kind of pitch you their slate, right? And for the most part, you could pretty much get down with it. That's gone. That's over. And if you look up, I want to share something with you all that is very poignant to this point. What does politician mean?
Politician means a person who is professionally involved in politics, especially as a holder of or a candidate for an elected office.
The other one, it's a noun, right? I just need you all to hear this. You can Siri it yourself. It's a noun, a person who is professionally involved in politics, especially as a holder or a candidate for an elected office. A person who acts in a manipulative and devious way, typically to gain advancement within an organization. That is the definition on Siri of politician. Okay? So let's be clear. Which one do you want? You can choose one now. You can choose the first definition or the second definition of what you want in a politician, but just know that literally they have put it on the table. That's what we do. So now you have a choice, knowing that. I'm to everybody, if you don't know somebody with an iPhone, just tell them, Siri, what is the definition of a politician? And then hold that in your phone and understand that that's what you're dealing with. 9 times out of 10, when we go in there to vote, you're dealing with one or the other. Which one do you want in office? And you don't, there's so much on our plates right now, and I don't want to give you that whole, you gotta, no tea, no shade, Star X, but you gotta know, you gotta read, you gotta do all this. I just need you to really pay attention. We're gonna bring you as much as we can on this show. And from what you know of those, do as much cursory as you can. But from as much as you know is what you've heard about that person, what you've seen, what you know it's one of those two. Pick wisely. Melba Pearson. So now, dear, we're like close to, we're there.
Yeah, we're like 30
So what would you say in terms of, you and I had the conversation, and I also had the conversation with Nike Abadayo about, why we are not in the room. I'm sorry, hold on. Janae says, Melba, you got to drown the radio waves and have an ad in the Miami Times every week. If Black women know that you're running for state attorney, they will vote for you.
Yes, thank you, Janae. That is already part of my plan, so yes.
Janae, have you interviewed Melba yet? Janae Tate has a great website called Hilo News, which is, and the Hilo stands for hyper local.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you've talked to her already?
I did an op-ed for her.
Okay.
Geez, I mean, time is kind of like melded into one really long day, but I
know, right?
And yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to reconnecting with her in this final push and making sure that the voters know about me in every corner that we can find, right?
Yeah. So with that, with this final push, what do you think what would you like for voters to know and to think about, and even, look up prior to going in the box about your candidacy and why 27 years is too long for anybody to hold one office? I'll just put that out there.
Yeah, basically. So a couple things that I want people to think about. First off, I'm going to give everyone my website, which is www.melba4miami.com. Melba, F-O-R, Miami.com. You can read about my platform in depth. You can read about my bio and my history, so you know a little bit about where I'm from and what I'm about. I am a daughter of the Caribbean. My father's from Jamaica. My mother was from Trinidad. So, I'm a first generation American. So everything from the Caribbean child experience in America to being an impacted woman as an African American woman in this country. So I view criminal justice and criminal justice reform in a way that's consistent with many of the voters that will be casting their ballot on August 18th. And that's the other thing I want people to remember. This is on the August 18th ballot. If you don't vote for my race in August, you've missed it. There's nothing happening in November. Right. Two of us, we are the only two options on the ballot. Anybody who is registered to vote in Miami-Dade County can cast a vote for one of us in this election, right? It is an open primary. So definitely make sure to learn more about me. And if you care about policing, if you care about justice being served equally in our communities, if you actually want somebody who will be accountable to you, who will not duck and cover when hard decisions have been made, and who's not going to just send out a memo or send out a staffer, who will actually physically come to the community and have these discussions, then I'm the person that you should be voting for on August 18th. Think about your life in the last 27 years. Has your life gotten better under my opponent? If you think it has, then you know what? I respect your decision. But if you can't point to any way that your community has been improved, then I am clearly the only choice for you on August 18th.
Melba Pearson, so I hope you're able to get some rest during this. That's one of the things that most politicians, they, end up, and when you're in this stretch right here. And I'm really glad that you reiterated that your race is August. This is not November. We are right around the corner. And if there are, that's Michelle. I'm trying to tell her that the link is in her messenger. I'm hoping you're watching this, Michelle. The link is in your messenger. Just get on that link. But Melba's race is on the 18th, and I offer you to Google them both. The both candidates in that race. It won't take, you don't have to get, you don't have to do more than 2 or 3 pages before you will. And I have several, I have several copies of content that will help you make your decision. If we keep threatening to start a reading room, Melba, I would love to have one as beautiful as yours. That in a universe, we won't, it's beautiful. I mean, there's nothing better than a beautiful room that you can sit in and read, and so this is the second bedroom. It's also the office. It's also the studio. It's okay. It's the multi-task room. Well, right. This one has 2, but but see, we can do that. That's that other superpower. Okay. So listen, do you all have? I can't. So many people were saying, and that's why I couldn't watch it, because you can't unsee that, and I can't have that sear my brain. I the first time I got it, I saw that first image, and when you see something that just so viscerally hurts you like that, you understand that something has to be done. And that is what we can do. A lot of times we get caught up in that. Oh my God, well then, what can I do? You can vote. That is the superpower that we have, all of us. That's what, think about everybody in your family and what they had to do to get us here. And the thought of you not voting and not honoring all that they had to go through for us to get here, and making sure that you are setting the groundwork for your children. Yes. That is that is the simplest way that I can explain how powerful our vote is. And we're up against so much. I know you all saw the story of the mail carriers that they're finding that are changing mail-in ballot votes from Democratic and they're checking Republican. And if they're both checked, they throw your ballot out. So either way it goes, we not only do we have our own societal needs to be more cognizant of our vote, but there are forces out there that are working against us. And yes, believe whatever conspiracy theories that you want to, but know that they are real, and that you have to be diligent about your vote, everybody in your family's vote, everybody in the neighborhood's vote. Be the Fannie Lou Hamer on your block. Okay, that's what we have to do. We really have to get the vote out there, and however we can help, we will. So Melba, I know you have your running shoes on. I appreciate your time so much this morning.
Thank you. Just a quick update for your listeners. On Sunday, we're doing a caravan stand.
Because she's trying to get in and share. But go ahead, and I'm gonna see if I can get her in while you are sharing.
Just to make sure that the information gets out there, and then Michelle, of course, can continue to speak about it. We are starting it. It's this Sunday, the 19th. Starting at 9 a.m. at the Fountain of Life Church. This is in Miami Gardens on 167th. That's Pastor Wayne Lomax's church. We will be driving, and it's also socially distant because everybody's in their car. So, obviously bring your mask, bring your hand sanitizer, your water. We're going to be driving from Miami Gardens to Homestead. There's going to be a rally in Homestead at 3 p.m. at Homestead City Hall, and it's being put together by Crystal Foster, who lost her brother Edward 5 years ago today to police violence. So she still has yet to get any closure. She still has yet to get any answers as to what happened, and no one has been held accountable in her brother Edward's death. So we are all going to be there to raise our voices in support of her, in support of all the families that have gotten abandoned by my opponent and did not find closure and find justice, for the Rainey family, for the survivors of officers Jesus Menical, where 5 women were sexually assaulted, and underage girls were sexually assaulted, and no accountability came from the state attorney's office. So we're going to be raising our voices around that and raising awareness. So come join us if you can. Again, 9 a.m. starting 9 a.m. at the Fountain of Life Church in Miami Gardens, and then we're going to be going to Homestead. 3 p.m. is the Homestead action at Homestead City Hall.
And Mackenzie Moore, who is on here, that's your territory down south, Mackenzie. So I need to get on the phone with you so you can get the people out to welcome Melba down south. And anybody, and oh my goodness, do you go through Perrine? Are you all going through Perrine? You know?
Yeah, I don't have the final path.
Yeah.
I think we might be, but I'm not positive. We're going to also have Amara La Negra from Love and Hip Hop, as well as Uncle Luke is going to be one of our guest speakers. I will be speaking as well. And there are so many community supporters, activists, and leaders who will be joining us in this effort.
Awesome. Thank you, Melba Pearson, for all that you're doing. And were you looking, Stars? Do we have questions from our guests?
Yeah, I was looking. I didn't see any questions. If you guys have questions, please post them. However, Melba, I did have a question in reference to what else does the state attorney do besides, what else? What else do they do?
See, that's the question. It's like, what does that I asked her the first time. What is the state attorney's job? What is it that you do?
So the overarching theme of a elected prosecutor's job is to seek justice in an equitable way for the county that you are responsible for. So that's the goal, is to seek justice, right? And for me, it's more about equity because of the fact we've got so much inequality when it comes to the way justice is administered in this county. So some of the things that a prosecutor does, a prosecutor decides whether or not charges are going to be filed in a particular case, whether or not, like for instance, do we want to have a community where we're prosecuting people for possession of misdemeanor marijuana? That is something that's strictly within the state attorney's decision-making process. So if charges are going to be filed, what level of charges should be filed? What types of pleas should be offered for people to be able to resolve their cases? What kinds of sentences are asked for after trial, right? Mm-hmm. Where are resources going to be focused? Is it going to be, like for me, my goal is going to be focused on gun violence, focused on sexual assault, focus on homicide, and focus on police accountability, not some of these lower level offenses that could be a fine, that could be a citation, and not send people to jail for things that are minor, right? Yeah. And then lastly, as we're protesting as a country, fighting around George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others, we are seeing very clearly what the power of a prosecutor is, because we're all protesting because we want the prosecutor in Breonna Taylor's case to go after the police officers who killed them. We were mad in Ahmaud Arbery because the case went through 3 prosecutors and each of them did something that undermined the case, right? Yeah. And so everybody is now like, oh, wait a minute. I have a prosecutor in my backyard too. What are they doing? And that is the important discussion we need to be having, because if we're not going to see that accountability, if we're not voting for people who are aligned with our values and care about these issues.
Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
So I want to show this now that I have a lawyer on, and I want you to tell me why in the hell this Sambo ass attorney general is not doing anything. I'm sorry. I shouldn't use that word with you on here. That I'm so sorry. I did not mean to say that. Yeah. So let me play this and you give me your thoughts.
I wanted to know what it's like for Daniel Cameron, Kentucky's first Black attorney general, to handle the Breonna Taylor case. But Cameron, who has repeatedly said that he wants to be seen as an impartial figure in this case, never let his answers get too personal or emotional.
What will ultimately make the decision for us are the facts.
Attorney General Daniel Cameron says it's his duty to not let the protesters at his home affect the Breonna Taylor investigation.
Again, understand the passion and understand people want answers. We want to provide the answers, but we have to do it in a... do it in a way that respects this process and in a thorough manner that makes sure that we get all the facts before we make our judgment.
Cameron says he recognizes the right of people to protest, but says the demonstrations on his lawn only escalate tensions.
I recognize the importance of being the first African American Attorney General, the first African American to be independently elected. And so this case in particular, because of the individuals involved, Ms. Taylor in particular, I recognize the importance of making sure that we get this right. That is my duty and responsibility as the Attorney General. As a Black man, I certainly have that responsibility as well.
What kind of experiences did you have with law enforcement as a Black man growing up in America?
I haven't had any bad experiences with law enforcement, but what I've said repeatedly is that shouldn't detract from others that have had bad experiences with law enforcement. That shouldn't detract from people that have had bad experiences in life outside of law enforcement.
What's he talking about?
In life outside of law enforcement, Black folks that have had issues and challenges, I don't discredit those in any way because of the experiences that I have.
For Cameron, the essence of justice requires him to set his opinions and life
I know that he's not for Black people because of this. This state, whenever you see a Black man sitting like that, he is not for Black people.
Cameron,
That is okay.
opinions and life experiences.
Right, his whole body language is like.
Mark Vanderhoff, WLKY News.
Cameron says he cannot comment on specifics of the investigation or say when it will be complete.
The hell? Now, Melba, this is what Cameron was doing with his free time.
The engagement party. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So he has his Nordic queen here. Okay.
Not the Nordic queen.
There we go.
You are too many things.
And then he has the whole clan in the back. Now, one of his family members, for some reason, is there, which is interesting.
Wow.
And this is what this woman had to say. I think that's Beyonce's mom.
That's Beyonce's mother.
Oh, okay. She said, I was shocked to learn that the Attorney General for Kentucky is a 34-year-old Black man, a Republican. When Breonna's mother, Tamika, asked to speak with him, he had someone else call her.
Mm-hmm.
When he ran for office, there are a lot of Black people that were excited and thought, oh my God, maybe we have a fair chance now because it will be a Black man in this position. He will be fair and unbiased toward Black people. They voted for him. Well, that's why it's important to educate yourself on people who are running for office. I have no problem with who he marries. That is his personal business. That is not what this post is about. I just don't understand his actions and where are their masks. Very interesting. All of you people that are coming on here to talk stuff and criticize, you all happen to have fake pages with 10 followers on them. So keep your fake private pages so you can go on people's sites and spill your racist comments. Our idiots. That's the Attorney General. There we go. Oh God, this just bull.
Well, like she said, you know, his record speaks for itself. I think that your oneness is where you land. Who you are neighbors with, married to, sleep with, ever have. You know what I'm saying? That does not take away, and we have to be really careful not to allow people to put us in that space where who I am as a Black woman is somehow diminished by who I love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the end of the day, you know, listen, I'm in an interracial marriage, right? So I make no mistake about it. I make no secret about it. But I also let my body of work speak for itself, right? Because at the end of the day, are you showing up for the community? Because you could be married to, you know, in a same race marriage. And if you're not showing up for the community, we're still back to square one, right? So if you're going to seek elected office, if you're going to take your life to the next level, you have to make sure that you have a body of work that you can rely on and that people can point to and be like, okay, I know what she stands for, or he stands for, or they stands for, what they're about, you know? And for me, it's always been about fighting for the people and fighting injustice, whether it's at the ACLU or, you know, at the prosecutor's office or as a head of an organization or whatever. But I think his comments, he was, you know, again, he is a Republican. He is very much aware that he is in a Republican state. So if he has further aspirations, he's going to say what he needs to say.
Right there.
Going back to that definition of politician, right? He's going to say what he needs to say for his run to the governor's mansion in 4 or 8 years, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to try to back away from certain things. So, I mean, for me, I look at it like, even though I know the definition of a politician, as in like, you know, you're a candidate for office.
Right.
I'm like, I don't consider myself to be a politician because to me, it's about this position, right? It's not, this is a stepping stone to the next. I'm going to then run for Congress. And then after that, I'm going to run for Senate. And then after that, I'm going to run for president. You know, I think that's where you have that problem of, you know, people are not about the job, but they're more about the stepping stone. So you got to find out if your candidate is about the job or if this is the foundation to get somewhere else and just use you as a tool for, you know, for their own end game.
To get to the next,
My question to you, Melba, was the fact that was his answers acceptable? Is there something that he can do now to not appease, but to provide some level of trust that he's doing anything? I mean, he just seems so cavalier and just completely.
Oh, you talking about him? That's I mean, just like you said it. The way he's sitting back in that chair doing that interview, it says everything. Body language tells you everything. That tells you everything really that you need to know about that man and what he's going to do and how they're just trying to figure out how he's going to let those cops off for Breonna Taylor's murder.
Right. Well, listen, at the end of the day, the civil train is about to leave the station. That city may end up being bankrupt as a result of the settlement that's going to come, because there's no way. They had the wrong address. They opened fire. They killed, this poor woman sleeping in her bed. They then imprisoned her boyfriend because this was a no-knock warrant. And, they bust into the people's house in the middle of the night. What is a law-abiding citizen going to do? They're going to reach for their lawful weapon to defend their household because they don't know who's coming in to harm them, right? So, but even though there's stand your ground and all of that, the castle doctrine and all this legal justification, he still ended up being arrested and taken out of his house, as opposed to other people in the same situation where it's like, oh no, we need to investigate. This is possibly stand your ground. Let's keep them out for another 2-3 weeks, etc. So anyway, be that as it may, the Breonna Taylor's family is going to get a multi-million-dollar settlement, no question. The question is whether or not these officers are going to be arrested and prosecuted for their failure to, do their due diligence beforehand, and, for the death of Breonna Taylor and the wrongful arrest of her boyfriend, I believe it's Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
And,
I have
I'm always hopeful. It ain't over until it's over.
Until I start singing. All right. So we have questions. We need Ebony Nance says we need the child support system restructured. Please ask her what her plans will be in that division.
Sure. So I have a lot of concerns about the child support division, unfortunately, because of the way that it's been administered for so long. And also, what's really troubling is that the child support division is almost just treated like a distant relative, right? They're not incorporated into the mainstream, like state attorney's office workings. They don't interact with folks. A lot of people don't even know what the child support enforcement division does. I mean, it's all very, very problematic. So my goal, number one, is to really do a deep audit on how it works. Looking to do a rotation so that more prosecutors can be going through the Child Support Enforcement Division, because I think if you have that base of knowledge, it informs how you deal with cases later on down the line, right? So
Yeah.
really good training ground that you need to understand that this, first of all, that this is an issue for people, right? Because we can't assume that just because you're working at the state attorney's office, you know everything about everything, right? You're basically with your life experiences. And if you grew up in a certain neighborhood, you don't understand the concept of child support because it's not something you had to deal with or know anybody. So I want to make sure that my prosecutors have as much and as wide a range of experiences so that they're more well-rounded and can make better decisions and be less judgmental of people, right? Because again, if you're not interacting with folks, you don't know their walk. So I would want to, again, audit it for that purpose, and then also make sure that we're being fair and equitable in the way we're approaching things. I don't want to, overly go after dads if it's not the right thing to do. I want to make sure that people get their rulings and are able to get closure in their cases in a fast way, not a sloppy way, but in a fast way, rather than folks who really need that money to be able to take care of their kids and live their lives and be productive. They're waiting for years and years. I mean, I have a friend who, is still waiting. Her children are grown, moved out the house, 20-something years old, and she's been in the child support system for more than 10 years and still no closure.
Closure. Now, a lot of people are also asking about direct filing of juveniles. Why is there so much of that done?
It's unacceptable. And under my administration, I will be ending the practice of direct filing juveniles.
Also, I'm sorry, Melba, it's just a lot of them, and I want to make sure I get as much into you. Elizabeth Judd asked, what is direct filing?
Sure. Okay. Right. So let's back up for a second.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. Direct file is the process by which you take a child out of juvenile court and you send them to adult court to face accountability. And that only happens with felonies, and that's the only time it's permissible. But the prosecutor has complete discretion as to whether or not a child should be dealt with in juvenile court or whether they should go to adult court. Only in very rare circumstances is it mandated by law to put a juvenile into adult court. One of those issues or one of those times would be for a homicide case, right? But just about every other type of charge, it's completely within the prosecutor's discretion. So for me, under my administration, I'd be ending that practice except when mandated by law. Because again, I believe kids need to be treated as kids. The human brain does not fully develop until the age of 25, 26. So to hold a child by adult standards makes absolutely no sense. It's counter to science and it's counter to common sense.
Yeah. Could you address the current bail system and how it is unfair to those without money?
Yeah.
Chloe.
Yeah. So the bail system, for those who don't know, in Florida, we have what's called a cash bail or cash bond system, right? We use bail and bond interchangeably. It means the same thing for these purposes, right? So basically, let me give you an example. Let's say you get arrested for stealing a car. So in Florida, that would be called grand theft auto, right? It's a felony. So there's a numeric value that the court assigns that you have to pay in order to get out before your trial. So let's say, and I'm making up numbers, let's say for theft auto, it's $5,000 is the amount you have to pay. So you get arrested, your bond is $5,000. If you've got that money laying around, which I know I don't, but some people do, if you've got $5,000 laying around, you can give that to court and you're released out of custody. You get that money back because you paid the full amount. You get that back at the end of your case. The average person, that's not your world, right? So you would pay 10% to a bonds person. And so that's $500. But when you give that money to a bonds person, you never get that money back. Even if you show up to court, you do everything you're supposed to do, whatever the case may be, you never get that money back, right? Now, here's the thing. If you don't have that $500, you're not getting out.
Oh. Well, that goes to the point, StarX. I was sharing with the audience that I get a lot of letters from mainly men in jail. A few women, and I didn't know that the whole transsexual thing is such a problem in jail, but we'll talk about that on another show. Anyway, So in that case, there are many of us in that situation. And one of the letters was from a young man who was in a cell with somebody who was COVID positive. And he was like, he was in there for a nonviolent offense, and he just could not make bail. And he was saying that this person who is positive is less than 36 inches away from him. Their cells are that big. So that one arrest can, in that instance, may be a death sentence.
Exactly. And I've been very active around that issue, especially when COVID first really started taking hold and we saw the numbers increasing in our jails. And I was like, we need to get as many people out who don't pose a risk to the community, right? Like if you pose a risk, I'm sorry, you need to say it. But the goal is to get the people who don't pose a risk out so that the people who are left can be socially distanced. And then it's easier for the staff to make sure that you're cleaning multiple times a day, or you're giving the people incarcerated the ability, the tools to be able to properly clean their cells. And so just to kind of round off the bail question, when I become state attorney, I'm going to end the practice of using cash bail for non-violent offenses and for people who don't pose a risk to the community. Because at the end of the day, like, people are all about are thinking about, oh, if you have money, somehow that means you're less of a risk. Well, we saw with Harvey Weinstein, we saw with Jeffrey Epstein, we saw with R. Kelly that, money does not equate to you not being a risk to the community. So we need to move away from a focus on money and focus on the underlying facts. And are you truly a risk to the community? If you are a risk, then you need to be in custody. So that's what I'll be focused on when I win.
Love that. Elizabeth Judd says, tell her she needs to contact me. I am good at analyzing how to win countywide elections. Elizabeth Judd, I would offer you to reach Messenger Michelle Spence Jones right this minute and have that conversation. Suzanne McDowell, love you. She said she was, can you put her that up? Because have you seen those uncomfortable conversations? The football player, his name is escaping me. I did a story about it, but anyway, is brilliant because he's having a lot of those, conversations that we just. There it is. You can go, and I think. Thank you, Suzanne. She's addressing what we're addressing. He does in episode 5 of Uncomfortable Conversations with, I think his name is Mark Jackson. It is escaping me, but there's the link. Awesome. Ask her why is Kathy okay, we got that one. And there was, I just want to make sure we need to develop. Did you move that one? Where's Anissa? I know she had a question. Will she help with the inmates who are non-violent and no court dates? No court dates. Like what is that? What is that? How are you in there with no court date?
Because everything, if I'm thinking about this correctly, everything went sideways once Rona hit, and we had a situation where, since the courthouse was closed, we literally still don't know when criminal trials are going to resume and what that's even going to look like, right? They just did a trial on Zoom for a civil case, but again, it's civil, it's money, so there's a different. This is not someone's liberty, right? And so now you have a situation where people are like, well, since we don't know when we're going back to the courthouse, then when this case is going to be tried. And so now people are just stuck. And but, and I don't know the answer to that, because it's a matter of, we've got to figure out how to be able to do this in a safe way. And a Zoom trial, we lose a lot by Zoom, right? Because you're not able to really gauge facial expressions. You're not able to engage body language. Somebody's might have bad reception, so they're buffering, and they're missing part of the testimony. And so a verdict on somebody's life, and he didn't hear all the testimony. I mean, there's so many logistical issues. So I don't know what the answer to that is, honestly.
Well, but thank you for that. And Suzanne, it is Uncomfortable Conversations with Emmanuel Acho, or Acho. Melba, thank you so much for your time. Godspeed, put on your sneakers and let's do it. And those of you, please, who are down south, who want to join the caravan, it starts in Miami Gardens on Sunday, and they're going all the way to Homestead. What is the website where they can get the information? Because we have not been able to get the Crystal on. I don't know what's going on, but we
No,
can't.
it's okay. It's okay. You could just hit up our campaign page, which is on all of our socials. We're at Melba for Miami. We have the flyer up. It's got the on there as well to be able to find out for more information. But just always remember 9 a.m. in Miami Gardens, Fountain of Life, 3 p.m. at Homestead of City Hall. 3 p.m. We're going to start the rally there, and then until it ends. So
awesome. Run, Melba, run. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Great to see you both. Take care.
Yes, you too, darling. And Crystal, were you getting the text? Anyway, Crystal is the young lady. We were trying to get her in here before we got out of here. Maybe we can. Oh wait, today is Thursday. Maybe we can talk to her tomorrow, because that was not working at all. Did you get a text from Michelle?
Michelle Spence? No.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Anyway, shouts out, hey Miss Blue from New York City. And Zoe is in the house, Blue. So hey, Zoe, not Chloe. But shouts out to New York in the building, and so many of you who come on. Elizabeth Judd, that sister is the truth and the light. So yes. So StarX, did you put up? And there were several people. Hey, Anissa, good morning. There were several people who in the same space as, yeah. You want to close with?
Yeah. So we had a conversation yesterday on Nick Cannon, and I'm going to play for you guys to set context for the conversation, what he said, and you be the verdict of. This is what got him in trouble.
Then let's go to what it really is then. When we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what Dr. Francis C. Welsman talked about is that fear in that
genetic annihilation
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. And we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully.
It didn't matter.
And where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power was that the sun then started to deteriorate. So they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, fight or flight.
Do you see the irony of this?
Exactly. So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people. They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough torrential environments. So they're acting as animals. So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually.
That's where he got in trouble, in my opinion. With the animals, but up to that point, right? Where's StarX? Are you still there? Okay. So StarX, right? It's right there. They did exactly what he just said. They lacked compassion. Rather than have a conversation, they believe, because I watched, a lot of the other side yesterday. And all of them were just talking about why he needed to be shut down, and they shut him down, this, that, and the other. They lacked and that he didn't know what he was talking about, and it was all lies. Nobody told the story. Nobody said this is what he got wrong, this, that, and the other. They lacked compassion, which is exactly what the hell he just said. And that's the issue. There is no conversation, right? And that's where I fall into. It's your business, right? Whatever, whoever owns all that, that's yours. You own it. I work here. Yep. But can we just visit the fact that what I described you as, I'm Nick Cannon right now, I need a hip turban. What I described you as is what you have just done to me. So can we have that conversation? You see what I'm saying?
No, you can't, because now, what Nick Cannon said was pseudoscience. Okay, was pseudoscience, and was his interpretation of explaining white atrocities. Okay, right. And so if his interpretation of explaining why white people have been so evil over the course of the past 2,000 years to the world. And that's a question. It's a very valid question. I mean, we need to really understand why they're the only race that traveled around the world fucking people up.
Right.
I just don't understand. You went to China. You went to China. You fucked the Chinese up. You went to Japan. You fucked the Japanese up. You went across the entire continent of Africa and you fucked everybody up. You went to South America and you fucked them up. You went to the Caribbean, you fucked them up. You went to North America, you killed off all the Indians, you fucked them up. You fucked the Eskimos up. You fucked up everywhere you went. You went to Australia, you fucked the Aborigines up. You went to, so if the melanated people are asking, you went to India, you fucked them up. You got them with skin lightening cream and carrying on. I mean, so you went to the Middle East. And now I just don't understand. Like, it's a valid question. It's the same way that you want to investigate Black criminality. You want to think about what creates in the inner cities and talk about Black on Black crime and all these questions that you ask. And you have been the most aggressive, the most barbaric group of people on the planet. And we want to know, why'd you do that? Right. So if you don't want to research your own self and understand why did you take your warrior violent culture in Europe, where you had 100-year wars, where you had wars every single month for things as simple as not agreeing that Mary is a virgin or she's not a virgin. You killed thousands of people for that reason alone, your own people. You literally had situations where the Queen of England, Mary I, would tie people to logs. She was so stressed out. They gave her the nickname Bloody Mary because she killed so many Protestants, and she wanted them to be Catholic because her mom, Catherine of Aragon, married Henry, and Henry didn't want her anymore because he wanted Anne Boleyn. And Catherine was a stark Catholic, and she prayed to God. She was such a righteous woman that they want to canonize her. But bottom line is that, Mary was the daughter of Catherine and Henry VIII, and as a result, you got Catherine, who looks at her mom and sees what Henry did to her. And remember, Catherine's mom and dad was the king and queen of Spain. Philip II, I believe. And so you got a situation where you now have a queen that decides that because her mother was cheated on and her mother suffered, that she was going to get back on anyone that was Protestant that went along with the Church of England. And so she just started killing a bunch of Protestants in the most horrific ways. I mean, so this is just an example of one monarch that totally just went crazy on her own people. And so you had so many examples of feudal kings and queens of Europe killing their own people, stopping them, all of the things that they did to slaves, they did to their own people. I want people to understand that. So when people are like, they remember the priests were the only people that really could read. And they would have parts of the Bible ripped apart, right? So you had to go to this chapel, because they would only have the book of Genesis. They would only have, so you have, so when you're asking the question,
you only have to look at Star X where we are right this minute, right? The fact that Trump now that the CDC is not saying what Trump wants them to say, he's gonna shut them down. And now they cannot release the stats of who's in the hospital, who has died. It has to go through the White House. And you know good damn, why would you do that if you were not going to change the outcome? This is the thing. And I'm wondering if Nick Cannon is going to come on with the conversation you just that we're presenting right here.
No, he's not going to do any of that. And this is why he's not. So and this is why I have such a respect for the Jewish population in America. I have such respect for Greenblatt, who Farrakhan hates. And the reason Farrakhan hates him is because he's effective. Right. And the reason that he's effective is because his people have solidarity. There's no Jewish Candace Owens. There's no Jewish Terrence Williams. There's no Jewish Terry Crews. And the fact is that when you look at this, and I'm going to show this fucking apology, all of the time that we're attacked, we can't do what the Jews do because we got motherfucking Sambos and coons that are just fucking everything up. Because when you have a minority, Jill, there's no way. When you have a minority and someone breaks out of that minority and then represents the race on what you want them to hear, I have a problem with that. And then look at this shit. So immediately, I'm going to show you why that won't happen, Jill. So you look at this, right? Dwayne Wade initially tweets a supporting tweet, right? And I love the fact that whoever gave him that phone call was like, you need to back yourself up off this. And he did it immediately. Dwayne Wade clarifies initial tweet supporting Nick Cannon. Dwayne Wade deleted a tweet in support of TV host Nick Cannon in the wake of the entertainer being fired for making anti-Semitic remarks on a podcast. After initially tweeting at Cannon, "We are with you," followed by a black fist and "keep leading," Wade later deleted the tweet and issued a second tweet to explain himself. "I want to clarify my now deleted tweet. I was not supporting or condoning what Nick Cannon specifically said, but I had expressed my support of him owning the content and brand he helped create," Wade wrote, followed by a prayer emoji. A short time later, he tweeted again, "I was too quick to respond without being fully informed about his hurtful anti-Semitic remarks. As you all know, I have zero tolerance for any hate speech," right? And so now you have Deshaun Jackson being fined. He's being fined
for what he said. Yeah.
And so when these non-black people say these things about us, there's no fines. There's just a half-ass apology, and then you get this, Jill. So now whoever got the Nick Cannon, I just have so much respect for the ADL. I have so much respect for the way that they operate, because that is a page that we need to take from. And this is Nick Cannon went from being alpha male, went from being baby Farrakhan to this. And this shows you that at the end of the day, right? If you're not willing to step out and become a Farrakhan or become someone that says, I am totally removing myself from this system, then you can't do that, Nick Cannon. You should have just remained silent. You should have apologized the first time and not put yourself through this shit, because now you're backtracking and look at how he didn't write this shit. I love the way that I can just see someone on the fucking phone with him, like, repeat it. Now, tell him.
He didn't say that.
I could just hear them on the phone saying, "Now repeat it back to me so I can make sure you got it right." This is what his apology said, and this is an excellent apology for someone who has offended a race of people. And this is exactly what black people need to do when folks do this to us, whether they're black, white, or whatever. First and foremost, listen to this shit. This is a fucking apology. First and foremost, I extend my deepest and most sincere apologies to my Jewish brothers, my Jewish sisters and brothers, for the hurtful and divisive words that came out of my mouth during my interview with Richard Griffin. They reinforced the worst stereotypes of a proud and magnificent people, and I feel ashamed of the uninformed. And I feel ashamed of the uninformed and naive place that these words came from. The video of this interview has since been removed. And so Cannon recently agreed with Public Enemy rapper Richard Griffin, known as Professor Grip, an assertion that Jews are wicked. I'm hated now because I told the true Griffin, who left Public Enemy in 1989 upon making the comment, told Cannon during the Cannon's class posted on June 30th. And Cannon responded, "You're speaking facts. Semitic people are black people," Cannon, an African-American, later added, "You can't be anti-Semitic when we are Semitic people." And that was enough. That was enough to get him fucking fired.
Just X'd off. He is officially no longer exists. Officially. And
so what I'm saying to you is that this is why we can't. Now I'm going to show you guys this so you can understand why we can't get our shit together, because we got these sambos like Richard Sherman and all these other motherfuckers that make us look fucking stupid when we try to embrace that Greenblatt energy, because I need that Greenblatt energy. I know Sharpton's mad at him, but Greenblatt is doing what he needs to do for his fucking people, and we need to do the same goddamn thing. So now look at this shit.
49ers, who was suspended for comments about a player's dark skin. He's apologized, and now some players are coming to his defense. Adrian Banker is here with the story. Good morning, Adrian.
Good morning to you too, George. Yes, it involves the most talked about player this NFL season. Fans divided, saying there was obviously no malintent from the sports analyst. The suspension deserved, say other fans, saying there was no need to ever mention skin color. But this morning, 2 African-American players are now defending radio analyst Tim Ryan.
Damn it.
Suspending Ryan for this weekend's game following comments he made in a radio interview Monday about the Baltimore Ravens' Lamar Jackson, saying the quarterback effectively faked out the Niners defense in part because the ball blends into his uniform and protection.
When he's his dark skin color with a dark football with a dark uniform, you could not see that thing.
The social media reaction was quick, with remarks like Tim Ryan should be fired for the Lamar Jackson comments. There's just no excusing this level of ignorance. And he's stupidly reducing Lamar Jackson's skills to just his skin tone.
Exactly.
That is racist.
Exactly.
You see the ball?
You see the ball?
Coming to Ryan's defense.
Now look at these motherfucking sambos. I knew it would be his ass. I can't motherfucking stand this man.
I wasn't as outraged as everybody else. If you're saying, hey, this is a brown ball, they're wearing dark colors, and he has brown arm, obviously sometimes we were having trouble seeing it on film.
Shut the fuck up.
D Ford seemed to suggest that cancel culture may have gone too far in this case.
I know what he was trying to say. You know, it's this era we live in. It's just what it is.
Ryan apologized to coaches and players in person, as well as releasing a statement.
Fuck that.
I regret my choice of words in trying to describe the conditions of the game. Lamar Jackson is an MVP caliber player, and I respect him greatly. I want to sincerely apologize to him and anyone.
That is not an apology. See, I don't want to hear that shit. That's the shit that gets me motherfucking mad. That shit that they crafted for fucking Nick Cannon, that's what I fucking want. And I want you fired.
Right. They made Nick Cannon go down to the essence of his damn soul.
You know, and that
should be burned at the stake for what I said. So I'm sorry. I mean, it's like Nick Cannon's was that deep.
These,
Listen,
this is why
I mean that like that.
No, Jill, it's the same thing that Biden said when they asked him about what, like when Charlamagne asked him, he's like, "Shit, you didn't see the Voting Rights Act? I passed that shit. What the fuck else you want?" You know, and so,
but Biden, the difference with Biden is that really. He's so old now. He really is like, look, okay, hey,
right.
I'm like the only friend y'all got. Okay, no, let's not even. I'm not even trying to be nobody. I'm not. But you want me or you want him? I mean, this is your choice. That's what.
And that's that old white man. That's that old white man energy.
Like, look, you got a choice now. You know I'm a better choice than this motherfucker over here. So you decide.
This is the other reason. This one's a little hard to hear.
Right.
This is a little hard to hear, but this is the reason why we can't do what the Jews do. Here we go. Listen to this.
I'm listening. And you can talk to me.
I just want everybody to know, to you, I forgive you. You took something very precious away from me. I will never talk to her ever again. I
I would never be able to hold her again. But I forgive you.
Oh.
And have mercy.
Woo.
Oh. You hurt me. You hurt a lot of people. But God forgive you.
Lord have mercy.
And I forgive you.
Okay, enough. So then here's the other reason. This is what we do. This is what we do.
I can speak for myself. I forgive you. And
That one, yeah.
I know if you go to God and ask him, he will forgive you. And I don't think anyone can say it again.
Yes.
And he went and took it to the fucking extreme.
Right. Can I give you a hug?
I was hoping that because they had some ancestry with Dominica or Haiti that he was doing some sort of voodoo ritual where he had to get close to her and get a piece of her hair or something. That's what I thought he was doing. But he's over here doing this. And the motherfucking judge, she take her ass down there. The fuck?
Hi, everyone. George.
So yeah, how the fuck we gonna fucking embrace that? And then this is the last thing that this country's just, I don't know. This guy, you saw this, Jill? This guy running for Congress. He said most white women join Black Lives Matter to fornicate with black men.
I just don't have words for that. And this is one of our Congress people.
Oh Jesus! I mean,
the one that I would love to see the comments. So like,
I'm gonna get him on the show. We gotta get him on the show because I need to. Yeah, I'm gonna ask because I want him to clarify all of his statements because this is gonna be hilarious. I mean, it's just. And you know, so I look at the fact that you got Wade who immediately had to retract his statements, didn't even waste any fucking time. And so how do we now get to the point? And I'm going to email Greenblatt and see if we can get Greenblatt on the show because I need to learn. I need to learn from him. I need to learn from the ADL. And the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, does an incredible job at ensuring that. And so to their defense, if I were Jewish and I were a white Jew, then I would have a problem with what Nick Cannon said. So I love the fact that even if I didn't have a problem, let's say I'm a white Jew and I didn't have a problem, I didn't think what he said was offensive. You think I'm going to go on fucking social media and put that shit like Terry Crews? You think I'm going to go and post?
He needs to sit down. They should see what would have been brilliant for me is to him to have that uncomfortable conversation with Rabbi Shmuley. That would have made sense to me because that foolishness. And that's what I mean about, you know, like where we are, we're like a whole different space right now. Right. And that did nothing. What happened with Nick Cannon and Viacom or whoever, like that Daniel. I hate I even looked over there at that Daniel or Danielle.
I wasn't paying attention. I saw what you saw. I'm not gonna pay attention to that.
You saw that. Although I feel like Black people need to have their facts straight when they talk about the Jewish community. They can't just recite something here in Hidden Colors. Yes, that's true. I guarantee. I agree with you. Social media is a whole. We're having, you know, living room conversations on the World Wide Web. Okay, so that is the difference. However, I think because of this, that should facilitate greater conversation. And we should force that as opposed to just shutting him down. What came of that? You better not talk about Jews. That's it. There's no greater understanding. They don't care about him correcting the record. If that's wrong, You know what I'm saying? That is the excuse that's used, like, oh, well, you can't, all of these things are wrong. You can't say this, that, and the other. Okay, well, then educate me and educate everybody that believes that way. Let's have a conversation about that. Cornel West and Anderson Cooper do that so well together. You know, I don't, and Cornel West is another one. I don't agree on everything that comes out of his mouth, but he knows his lane, right? And that's what I would be okay with Shmuley saying, Nick, know your lane. You were out of your lane, and this is why. Now let me, and then if they needed to bring Griff in there, Shmuley and Griff would have been killer. You know what I'm saying? And then bring him a brother from the nation. Get to the truth for as much of it as we know and can document. Then we've done something. But just canceling him did absolutely nothing. Nothing. There it is. All right, I gotta go. I'm late for my class. But seriously, black man, Nick got canned because he pissed off. Exactly. The one was a little bit more than 1%. But anyway, all right. I love y'all. My kids are awake. Sorry, I'll call you later. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.